Hi, my name is Marbelis. I'm a musician with Colombian and Venezuelan roots. And well, now I'm living in Kansas City, Missouri. And I just want to share a little bit of my story with you. I grew up listening to gospel music at church. Um, we were in a Pentecostal church, and of course, we had Southern gospel and we had a little bit of a Latin rhythms, and we had conga, and we had the drums, and we have the timbal. So uh, yeah, all those sounds are part of my background. Okay, by the mid 90s, with the influence of the praise and worship movement, the synthesizers were added, more of a keyboard based instead of percussion led. And there were great singers like Stanislaw Marino and Marcos Witt, who provided or who experienced, who provided a base for the music that we enjoy nowadays in Latin America, at least in Latin America. Their lyrics and music were a breakthrough, were very significant, and were very known by the Christian community. So I think that I'm part of that generation that grew up listening to Marcos Witt and other singers from Mexico and other countries. And what stood with me was one song, that we are the light of the world, and that we need to share the message of the gospel, because there are around 30% of the world population that do not know about Jesus, that haven't heard it on music, songs, or even in history, because they don't have alphabet, they don't have books, they don't have schools. So that message of the importance and the meaning of sharing music and sharing the gospel stayed with me, and it's part of my vision. Someone who heavily influenced my life as a musician was my mom. Is my mom, she's still alive. And she was a singer at the worship ministry at our local church, and everything that she learned from her leader was also passed to me. Like breathing exercises, and how to position of your voice, your posture, especially what I have learned from her is her character, her persistence, and um, and the strength that is necessary to have a public ministry, to have to be leading others to worship God. Of course, in my family there are also other musicians, but my mom was like the first person who believed in God and who went to church, like to a Protestant church. Most of my relatives were part of the Catholic Church, and at first she faced opposition by some of her relatives, but she was able to overcome that, and actually her testimony allowed other relatives to come to Christ. Around when I was 16 years old, I remember clearly, I had a friend at church who taught me like the basics of playing the guitar, and we also received some harmony lessons and some music lessons from church, and that helped me to pave the way toward learning to play an instrument and how to write songs. My first songs obviously were in Spanish, and one of them I wrote it with one friend of mine called Suyin, who lives now in Spain. And yeah, that dream of writing music and posting it and producing it was there. Obviously, it was there from a long time ago. And incredibly enough, I was studying English. I didn't study music. I studied English to become an English teacher. And I dreamed about being a missionary, being someone who was building bridges. And I worked as a translator for in the mission field, because again, that I had that passion toward bringing other people to Christ. And I have always felt that music is language from heaven, and it facilitates the way that we convey messages and that we present information. So it's been a passion since I was very young. Even though I was studying English, I was an English teacher later, I didn't see myself living in the US or dreaming, like having the American dream to move here and work here. It was never like a desire in me. So it was God's plan. It was part of God's plan, even though I didn't know all the things that were going to happen before. God's plan was, I mean, He knows it all. He knows my heart. He knew everything that was going to happen in my life. So in 2023, I moved here to get married, and my husband has been such a support in my life and my ministry, and he's also a great teacher, and I mean, teacher of the scriptures. And he helped me produce the first song in English, which is A New Day. And again, I feel like music has given me the tools to bring the gospel and to open a way, not open a way, to present the gospel in a different way, maybe not as explicit as the music from the music that we listen to on Sundays. But yes, my main goal is to present the gospel with my music. So if you have questions about me or my story or my testimony, leave it in the comments. And if you also write music, let me know as well. Maybe I can give you some tips, or maybe you can give me some tips, because I'm expanding my community. For me, it's so important to polish and to get polished, to be processed, and to mentor others, to be mentored. We're not meant to be like a lone ranger, like Rambo, doing everything by ourselves. We need to live in community. So if you like this video, remember to post a like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you also write music and tips that helped you to produce music in another language. So until I see you, take care. Bye.